Hustle Harder weekend, and you guys are at the first panel. Thank you so much for being here. So, just to tell you a little bit about EGL, EGL is Everything Girls Love, a baby child of myself, my partner Toya over here, and it's comprised of a bunch of diverse women from all walks of life that have come together for a common goal. Being a superwoman is somewhat unrealistic for some of us, but being the best you that you can be is absolutely achievable, that theory. We believe that you can be Oprah in the boardroom, Susie the homemaker at home, without compromising one for the other, but being great at both. The EGL girl claims her blessings, she creates her destiny, and she absolutely owns her tomorrow. So today, you guys are here because you want to be somewhat of an EGL girl yourself, or an EGL gentleman. Thank you for being here today. Right? We want you to absolutely sit back and learn about having a passion-filled life. Learn about finding, creating, owning, and going after your purpose. How many of you guys want to have a purpose-filled life? I know I do. How many of you want to walk in with passion when you walk into a room about what you believe in and what you want? I know I do. So today, this is the first step in taking that goal to being the best you, with a purpose-filled life, with a life about passion, which in turn will equal profit. Because we also want to have some money, right? This society calls us to sometimes have a couple dollars in our pocket so we can do what we want to do. But a lot of times you really have to understand what your calling is, what the reasoning is as to why you walk into that room and want to demand how much you should make, why you want to demand what you want and what you need, how you want to be respected when you walk into the doors of those careers. But first it starts with understanding your purpose. It starts with having a passion for your purpose. And I think today we're going to get into some very, very important conversation about that. But ultimately, a lot of us as women, we also have to figure out, how do we balance it all? You know, we take care of everybody. You guys have heard me say this before. We take care of our bosses. We take care of our children. We take care of our men. But a lot of times we don't take care of each other the way we need to. So we're going to have some good sister talk. There's a saying that behind every great man, there's a greater woman. But I think there's a little twist to that saying for me, and it's beside every great woman, there's a greater sister. So today, let's get some sister time, some sister talk. I got a few of my sisters in the crowd that are going to help us really help train our thinking to where we want to go and where we should be. I'm going to let my sister Precious here take over, who's going to moderate this panel. And everyone can introduce yourself. Precious, if you can start, and then the ladies can kind of fill in.
I'm not going to use the microphone. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Precious Aforclea Evans. I am a licensed psychotherapist in Atlanta. I'm also a writer. And I'm here today to pretty much remind you guys to take care of yourselves. As Yandy stated, that in pursuit of love, happiness, and the American dream, the woman often gets left behind. But it's not so much that everybody around us is leaving us behind as much as it is that we're leaving ourselves behind. So I'm going to talk a little bit about just restructuring your frame of mind to practice proper self-care, proper self-preservation, and just prioritize your needs in order for you to thrive the way that you want to thrive. The thing that most people forget is that if you want to pursue this ultimate professional career, you're oftentimes going to be stopped along the way at every turn if you are not right yourself. So I'll talk a little more about that when we get into our discussion, but I'm going to pass it on down the line. Let's have Tamika go ahead and intro herself.
I'm Tamika, probably the most talkative person up here. When I was young, I was told that talking too much was going to get me in trouble, but it has, but it also has helped me in my life. I've been able to turn it into a positive thing, and so, I think I come from a perspective that whatever it is that our children are exhibiting in this moment must be nurtured because, as I've gotten older, utilizing the little things that I had, being a fiery, feisty person who always wanted to tell people that they were wrong for stuff. has worked in my life as of today. So I'm a civil rights activist, and you'll see me somewhere between shutting down a bridge and yelling at the President of the United States. But I also have a 17-year-old son that I'm raising, and so I certainly understand the balance of two worlds.
And she looks 17. She has a 17-year-old son.
Yeah, he thinks so too. I love it.
All right, so I have Lucinda go ahead and intro herself.
Good evening, ladies. I'm Lucinda. Hey. So I also have a big mouth. Extremely excited about life. Came from humbling beginnings. Have experienced what cold shackles and cuffs felt like, and that completely changed my whole life and perspective on how I wanted to pursue my purpose moving forward. So I'm a mother of 3, a wife of 1, no pets. I do a lot of inspirational speaking all across the globe. I do life coaching and just helping women live fire, fun, and freedom under my 5 pillars. You know, faith, family, friends, finances, and fitness. You get those 5, you can balance the rest of your life and begin to start pursuing the things that you love. But my job and what I love to do is to push women to the point of no return, where you make no excuses about your life, because I've been there and done that, had the t-shirt, the cuffs, and the orange suit for it. So I'm excited to be here today and just looking forward to sharing.
I always love Lucinda's energy. I love it. I love it. So we're going to have Nakia.
Hi ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nakia McLean. I'm the CEO and founder of Tanae Nicole Marketing and Public Relations. I am a mother of 4, 9, 12, 20, and 22. But if you count my husband, I would say the mother of 5. He's 48. And I want to just say that my purpose is always wanting more for yourself, right? What you don't know is that I was a mother of 2 before I was 18. But I didn't let that stop me. I didn't let it hinder me. And now, you know, I'm running this amazing company. I have a great support team. And I just want to let you know that for me, my purpose is just that I love life. And I want everything that I can from life. And as women, you know, it doesn't matter if you are a wife. It doesn't matter if you're a mother. You have to set your limitations. And if you limit yourself, you're not going to be able to achieve the things that are out there. So I'm just here to let you know that you can live in your purpose, regardless of any situation. You have to want it.
So hello everyone. I don't have any kids. I have Charlie, Pebbles, and Bam Bam. My 3 dogs. So my story is, you know, I went on a journey, 2-time breast cancer survivor. Doctors told me I had stage 4 terminal breast cancer and gave me 3 months to live. I beat their status and I'm 9 years cancer free. And so from that journey, it has catapulted me to speak, and I speak all over the world. You know, Ghana, I'm off to Nigeria, London, Australia, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany. I'm so blessed to help women find their inner warrior and never give up on their dreams and their goals. So I realized when I can beat the stats of doctors and I'm with God, anything and everything is possible, right? So I help women step into their greatness and finding the love in themselves, like, because I realize that we don't really love ourselves, you know, because we play small in everything. So I help women play big in the universe, in their career, in their relationship, and in their life, and stop playing small.
Right. All right.
Hi, I'm Latoya. I am Yandy's partner. I'm not supposed to be on this panel, but I wanted to say something to everyone here. This is the kickoff for our big weekend, and we have a lot of panels. We have Passion and Purpose and the Balancing Act, and I personally think, and these women will agree, that these are the 2 of the most important panels, because without knowing your passion and your purpose and having a balance, it's really hard to be successful. And I say that because the other panels, like the Boss Moves and the branding and the marketing and the entertainment panel, completely sold out. That's why this is in a more intimate, smaller setting, because everyone wants to skip this part and go to being the boss and go to, you know, the branding and the marketing without having a foundation first. So really listen to these women and how they got to where they are, and what values they have and how they balance and everything else, because that's the important part. That's the foundation that you're gonna need in order to be successful.
Love it.
Thank you, Toya. So we have some additional speakers that we're going to hear from throughout the night, and we'll have them introduce themselves. But I want to go ahead and dive into some of the discussion topics, and then we'll cue off to the other speakers and have them chime in because they have, you know, some great input as well. So one of the primary topics for the night is passion plus purpose equals profits. But, you know, that can mean various different things for each one of us individually. So we want to really dive in and figure out, first of all, how do we explore and discover our passion? And then what does turning it into profits really mean? Of course, we all want to get our coins, and catapulting to the next level is going to mean really transcribing all of this, you know, all of these gifts, all of this passion, all of this energy, all of this drive and ambition into something that we can monetize. So we need to figure out what that is going to look like. So we're going to have our panelists chime in on that topic now. So who wants to go ahead and dive right?
Big mouth.
All right.
So can you see back there? I want to make sure everybody's getting some love. You get some love? All right, so let me just, I'll be brief. I'm just standing up to be brief. But two things that I learned in business, because you could be passionately poor or passionately profitable. And the difference is understanding your value and your worth. So passionately poor is when you love what you do, right? And you telling everybody about it, and then you see somebody else running off with your idea because you didn't take action. Passionately profitable is meaning that I'm in this not only to make coins, but what is the next thing for me? What is this going to lead me to? I'm not just writing a book to write a book, but is this book going to lead to a tour? Is it going to lead to a program? Is it going to lead to a clothing line? So what's next after that? So passionately profitable is when you have a stream of income following something that you love, and that passion means that you don't have permission to give up. When you have no clients, when you have a slew of clients, when you have all the support, and when you have no support. There was a time where I was the marketer, the event planner, the host, the speaker, the janitor, the cook. Come on, I went to Costco, did my thing, put the sternos up. Like, so sometimes you have to be all things. But when you're moving into passionately profitable, now you're like, all right, this thing is bigger than the love that I have for it. Other people need to be involved. So think about that. So that's what I would lend. Don't be passionately poor, be passionately profitable. And that means no excuses whether you have help or not, money or not, and time or not. Those are excuses.
I love it. So I would like to go off of what Lucinda said, who's amazing, right? Is that, you know what, really finding your purpose and your passion, because a lot of us just do a job, right? We live paycheck to paycheck. And you know what, paycheck to paycheck will never get you your passion, because you stay stuck. You know, I was coaching somebody today, and I was just like, God, if you are not doing what you love, why are you really doing it? Think about when you go home and you're driving home, or you're on the subway, or you're doing, and you're like, ugh, I gotta go in tomorrow. Come on, how many people in the room has felt like that going to work, right? You can't stand it. You don't like the boss. You don't like it. So you're not really living your purpose and your path. And let me tell you guys, tomorrow is not promised. Let me tell you, tomorrow is not promised. I know 4 people who passed away just like that in a moment's notice. One was at the boxing ring taking a boxing class, boom. One had got in a car accident, boom. One was in Spain, got hit by a car, boom. And one was on a bike. None of those 4 people thought that their life was going to end that day. Do you know what I mean? 2 of them wanted to start a business, kept talking about a business, and never started it. So what I'm saying to you is the time is now to live out your passion and your purpose. And it is the gift that you have inside of you that you know that you have. Like, it's your gift that you don't even have to, like, say, Big Mouth, right? She a speaker. I'm a speaker. Tamika's a speaker. Right, Big Mouth. Do you know what I mean, right? You know what I mean? Maybe your passion is baking. You know, you bake your butt off. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it's fitness, but you need to start living your passion. And let me tell you, when you live your passion, it becomes your purpose, and your purpose turns into profit. No matter what you do, it's going to turn into profit, because one door opens, God going to open another one. Then another door opens, it's going to another door open. When you're living on purpose, everything opens. But when you're living paycheck to paycheck, trying to write a job, trying to put one foot in, 1 foot out, I want to do photography, but I only do it for, 1 hour out the week. How you going to ever be great at it? Oh, I want to be a dancer, but I'm doing it too. No, if you want to do it, you got to step out on faith and go for it. Because one step forward, got to take two.
I just want to say also that your passion can't just be for profit. I feel so many times, we see someone start a business, so let me do that, right? But there's no purpose behind it. You just want to do it because you see the other person doing it. But when it's your passion, and I know when it's your passion, I know you're like, okay, I gotta be paid. But I'm telling you, the first year when I quit my job, when I stopped doing real estate, and I told my husband I'm starting my own PR firm, he was like, no, you not. Because he's used to that security. But I was like, no, listen, I have something. I'm telling you, I have something. And guess what? I made $9,000 in the first year. But it's my passion. I lived in it. I breathed it. I cried. And I even at times would look at other people. But guess what? I had to say, you know what? I can't look at what they're doing because that's not my purpose. My purpose is to push this firm and my clients to the next level. And so that's what I'm going to be passionate about. So I know we look at other people as women. We do it. We look at other women and see what they're doing, and we're always like, okay, well, I could do that. Let me think of what I can do. No, I didn't get into PR until I was 32. Okay, I did a bunch of other stuff. I would be the party promoter, and I had a 9 to 5, but I still would make money on the side. But it wasn't leading me to anything. Your purpose leads you. It leads you to your destiny.
I would just say that from my perspective, I guess, is slightly different, even though Toya's like beaming, looking at me like, yeah, you don't ask people for enough money for what you do. But I think in my work, you can't always make money, right? Because what I'm doing actually requires the trust of the community to a point where you have to actually be able to say, I took nothing from anyone in order to get to this place. So sometimes your passion has to be tied to you having some other work. So I also run a strategic communications firm where I utilize my expertise of the Black community to go to corporations and other people and help them connect with the community. So that's where I make money. So you can't always think that just because you're speaking on a topic or you're just the most, you're the best at whatever inspirational thing you do, that money is gonna come. Sometimes you have to connect that to something else that actually puts your skill set to work to use for someone where they can understand it. It's not that you just inspired me, but you can actually help me make some money. And I think that's been what has worked for me. And again, Toya and Andy are always saying, when you go around on these tours, you don't need to go everywhere and speak for free. And so a lot of times I do have to push back, and I'm getting better at this. This is a process. They actually use curse words when they're speaking to me, and it's scary about it. And I'm doing better. But I also know that sometimes the students need to hear the message about whatever the issue is more important than me waiting for them to get the budget from the campus so that they can pay me, because more than likely when the campus finds out I'm coming, they don't want to pay me anyway because they're scared of what I might say. So sometimes in order to be able to speak to your people, you can't be bought by anyone, and that's a challenge, but it's real.
And also, I'm going to come from kind of a more practical place. A lot of us are sitting here like, I wish I knew what my purpose was, like these ladies, or I knew where my passion lies. And sometimes you gotta try things, and you may fail, or you may decide like, no, I really don't like this. This ain't it. But you have to get out there. In life, there's gonna be ups and there's gonna be down, because that's just what life is. But don't get knocked down sitting down. That's right. Get knocked down while you're in the fight. That was a good one. Can you stop? You gotta really get in the fight to figure out what it is. And I was that person where I was kind of like, I knew that I did love making money. I loved being an entrepreneur. But I was doing a lot of different things that just was not my passion. It was not, and I definitely felt like it wasn't my purpose. Even when I got on this show, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna come on this show, it can't be about mess, because I know that there's a bigger picture. I don't know what my bigger picture is, and a lot of times I still feel like I'm figuring out my bigger picture. But let me tell you,
in tragedy or in negative situations, sometimes you will find your purpose.
Yeah.
And when I found my purpose, I went through, no, I'm not preaching, I'm just telling my story, Tamika. You know, when I went through some really kind of, for me, tragic things with my family, it helped me to understand that, okay, either I'm going to hide this situation and I'm going to keep it from the world, or I'm going to just bear it all and let the world see what I'm going through, and just maybe I won't get judged. Maybe someone will understand me. Maybe someone can relate. Maybe someone can relate. And it was a conflict. It was a really hard conflict within me to let the world in on a particular portion of my life. But in that horrible situation that I went through, that I'm going through, I found a purpose. And I found that I love talking to women. I love relating with women. I remember our first EGL event, I was in the thick of things. Things were just kind of happening to me when our first EGL event happened. And I was so super nervous. You know, I had to get up and speak and just do an introduction. And I was nervous. I got there super late. I just had a baby. And my husband just left. And I was just like, this is just not for me. But when I got up there, I remember through my tears, I was like, oh my gosh, there's someone else crying. There's someone else that just stood up and said she can relate, and my strength has helped her get through. There's someone whose son is going through, someone whose dad. And in that, I realized in this horrible situation, and you know, none of us want the horrible situations. None of us want to be chipped away at. None of us want to go through the refining and we hate it. It feels bad. We don't like it. But sometimes in those moments is where you will find your passion. For those of you that don't know what your purpose is or what your passion is, embrace the hardships sometimes. Look at your hardships. Look at your times when you're just like, I can't get through this. Look at those times when all you can do is pray and say, what are you trying to teach me? What am I learning from this? And that will kind of help you get through a lot of the situations you go through when you try to look for, what is the message here? What am I supposed to see here? Because I tell you, that first EGL event we did, I was not there. I was not there. I had a lot going on. But when I stood up and I spoke, and it wasn't what I was saying that helped me, it was the reaction I got from the crowd that just helped me. And I'm like, I love this. I love relating with women. I love talking. You know, and then everything else grew from that. The blog grew. The EGL magazine grew. These events grew. They got bigger and bigger every year. And I found that no matter what TV shows, with skincare lines, with hair lines, with this, that I'm doing, my purpose is really women and relating and helping and building with.
And the thing is, and I'm glad that you touched on, you know, some of the people in the room that might be feeling like they have no clue where their passion is. And I just want to offer some insight into that. Oftentimes, your passion is organic, right? Your passion exists within you. It's somewhere between what you love and what you're great at. When those two intersect, when they collide, that's where you'll find your passion. But you have to be careful, because oftentimes you're in turmoil and you're experiencing these trials because you are resisting against what that passion is. Now, your purpose, I would say, is more the application of your passion. It's the direction that you take your passion in. It's the purpose. It's the bigger picture. And the bigger picture really is what passion plus purpose equals. The bigger picture. Because if your purpose is tied into somebody or something or one concrete finite goal, you can't have a finite goal. Your goal can't be, oh, I want to make 6 figures. When you make those 6 figures, then what? Then what? Is your passion depleted? Is your purpose gone? Oftentimes the women that I see are in front of me because they're like, I've been everything. I've been everything for everybody else. I was what I was told I was supposed to be. We're always downloading so much content. We download all day. Everyone's telling us what we should be, what we should do, how we should behave, and so on and so forth, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, sometimes we download so much that our passion and our purpose gets buried. So that's why it's important for you to spend time with yourself. I told you I was going to bring it back to my little, psychology thing. But no, it's really real though, because we oftentimes don't spend enough time with ourselves. So we can clear away all of that content of everybody else who told us what we were supposed to be, of our parents who dumped all their stuff on us, all their issues, who sowed the seed, so oftentimes who sowed seeds of self-doubt, of low self-esteem, of feelings of depression and anxiety, of fear of failure or fear of success. So we've sold all of this into our mentality, and we don't realize that those are the blockages. Oftentimes, where that equal sign is often self-sabotage and self-doubt. And that's what's stopping you from creating the profits. That's what's stopping you from creating the profits, because you are at every pass, you're telling yourself, I'm never going to be as good as her. That's that content we downloaded, right? She's so amazing. She did all this great stuff. It was all laid out for her. Nobody had anything laid out for them. But that's the messages that you're feeding yourself. So you've already stopped your direction. You've already covered up what your passion is. That's why you can't figure it out. That's why you feel lost. So you have to spend time with yourself. You have to clear away all of the stuff, all of the baggage, all the stuff that doesn't belong to you. I always tell my clients, you can put it back in the package and put the return to sender stamp on it and put it back in the mailbox. Yeah, you get to do that. You get to return to sender. People try to dump all that stuff onto you, what you need to do for everybody in your life, all those feelings of guilt because you didn't do this, and that, because you didn't overextend yourself. Well, that's self-preservation. We'll get into that a little later. I can go on and on and on. But like I said, we have some amazing additional speakers, so I want to go ahead and have them chime in on this topic. So let's go ahead and start with Chashida. If you could just introduce yourself and then chime in on how this relates to your story.
Oh, you want to see me?
You want to use the? No. You look awesome in that dress. You might as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Tashida Watson. Just a small time girl from South Carolina. If you would have asked me a couple years ago, would I be here, I would be like, no. And a lot of stuff that has happened in my life, is still surprising to me. I'm just living my dream, honestly. I came out of high school and went into the military, and from there, I started working for the British consulate. And I moved on to a different job, and an opportunity came open for me to get a child care center. And I took that, and the child care center only had 60 kids in it. Today it has 180 kids. I can't say that it was easy, because it wasn't. The first 3 years was a lot of hard work, tears, sweat, pain, but it was just persevering, through it, and now it is where it is. And last year, in the shower is where I get a lot of my visions, and I go out and I write it down. I'm like, all right, because that's when God speaks to me. So I had a vision to make t-shirts. So I created a business called Blingo Everything, and it took off. I had no idea. I was like, oh, this is just gonna be a hobby. I'll make stuff for friends, family, parents, and it absolutely skyrocketed. So a lot of times it's like, our vision is not what God's vision is, so we just have to go with it. And then another thing is, just having a passion for what you're doing. And now, this world, a lot of people just want to get rich quick, and it don't always come that way. Like, it takes some work, and then you may see somebody else doing something, and you like, they doing that, I want to do that, but you don't understand, like, the passion and the work that comes into it. So just love what you want to do, and then just go with that. So don't look at what everybody else is doing, because you don't know what goes on behind closed doors to make that work. Because with that, we lose a lot of sleep. And with my family, I have 2 beautiful kids and a husband, so a lot of the times I don't want to take away from my family time. So the things that I have to do for my businesses that I have, I make sure that family comes first, because as long as I'm winning with them, I'm winning with everything else. So for me, God, family first. So.
All right, next we have Monique.
Hello. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Monique Rodriguez, and I'm the owner of Mayel Organics. And I would like to say that what each of these ladies up here said has like touched my heart so much, because I can relate, because you know I still struggle with, you know, making sure that I'm inspiring people to follow their passion, because it took me a while to get to where I'm at today. I started my career, I was a registered nurse before launching Mayel Organics. I was a nurse for 8 years before launching my business. And before I actually launched the business, I tried a lot of different things. I did direct sales. I tried to sell Mary Kay, Avon, all that stuff, because I was searching for a way out of 19. You still want to please your parents, and not necessarily, you're not living to please yourself. So that's what I did. I went to school to become a nurse because I wanted to make my mom happy, and not really understanding that I had to make myself happy. But I was always, my passion is like beauty and hair, like I've always been passionate about. And also looking at my mom, yes, she wanted to be a nurse, but she also had a passion for fashion. Like she likes to sew, like she made this skirt that I'm wearing here today. But she never followed her passion. And you know, I look at her for like motivation, because my mom, she's been on her job for maybe 40-something years. And she worked as a secretary because she didn't, like I said, she never became a nurse. But I used to see her pick up sewing and then drop it. She'll give up because she didn't have, you know, help from my dad. So she was almost like a single parent. So she would pick up her passion, then she'll put it down. She'll give up. And, you know, I saw that. And as a child, I used to say to myself, you know, why do you always give up? And then I started seeing that in myself, that I would start stuff and then I would give up. And I didn't want to do that. And I said, I want to figure out what my passion is, and I want to take that passion, I want to run with it. And it took for, like what Yandy touched on, it takes for something tragic, in my instance, it took for something very tragic in my family to happen to me to give me that push. And I always say that was God pushing me to follow my passion, because you know, the entrepreneur spirit was always in me, but I saw myself giving up like my mom. And I felt that in order for God to break that chain, He had to put me through something to push me to do what He put me on this earth to do. And 2 years ago, I launched Mayel in 2014, and this is how I know that I'm walking in my passion, my purpose, is because we launched this business 2 years ago, and we have built a very, very, very successful multi-million-dollar company in 2 years. And that's how I know that I'm walking in my purpose. Like, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do on this earth. I'm inspiring other women to let them know that if I can do it, you can too. You know, I came from a middle-class family. I didn't come from a rich background. I didn't go to a prestigious school. I came from middle class. So I'm no different than you sitting in the audience. I'm no different than anybody here. But the thing is, I didn't give up. And I saw my mom and how she gave up, and I wanted to do something different. So, you know, hopefully, like, you know, everybody here, we can all inspire you to know that no matter what you go through, you cannot give up. Because God, we all have gifts on this earth. And God gives us a gift to live a prosperous, wealthy lifestyle. So, you know,
I want you guys, while we have our speaker, yeah, that was amazing, Mike. Thank you so much. While our speakers are speaking, really listen sometimes. See, there's things that they're saying that they're not even saying. You know, my sister first shared about how she had an idea in the shower and then she wrote it down. Write your things down so that you can go back and revisit it. Put the date that you had a thought, put the date that it came up, so that 2 years or a year later or a month later you can go back and say, oh my gosh, I thought about this day, this time, I did it. Or I thought about this day, this time, I need to go back and revisit that and do it. Something else that Monique just spoke about is sometimes our biggest supporters can also be our biggest naysayers. Sometimes it's our family, sometimes it's our man, sometimes it's our girlfriend, sometimes it's whomever is our closest, ourselves. And you have to remember that everyone is not going to agree with what your passion is, especially if it wasn't theirs, if it's not the ideal picture that they had set up for your life. And you have got to be confident in what you see, what you want to do, and sometimes you just got to say, get behind me, Satan. I got this. Not to call daddies and mamas and brothers and sisters or girlfriends Satan, but sometimes you just got to block it out. And when you know that that's your passion and that's your goal, everything else, mama, you know, she quit, or daddy didn't think that this was for me, or this isn't what they, you got to just say, this is me. You lived your life, this is me, and I'm going to do what I have to do for myself so that I can be happy, so that I can be mentally healthy, and eventually, hopefully, so that I can be wealthy. But you got to just let those naysayers naysay on their own time.
You know what really stuck out to me when Monique was speaking? She said that sometimes when you're 17, 18, 19, you live to please your parents. You're not living to please yourself. But I would suggest that there's a good majority of people in here today
34.
that are still living to please everyone else. But what is so wrong with living to please yourself? What is so wrong? It's almost like we fight against that, like it's the worst thing ever. And the biggest manipulation is that living to please yourself is somehow selfish. There is nothing selfish about living to please yourself. That is the embodiment of self-preservation. Take care of self first. Take care of self, sow into self, fulfill self, pour into self. We're pouring into so many other people. We oftentimes only have a drop left for ourselves. We're depleted. And that's why we can't find the will. We can't find the strength. We can't find the mind space. We can't find the emotional space to create, to explore, to have anything manifest for ourselves. I'm sorry, let me go ahead and have our other speakers speak. Let me have Tiara come up. I'm sorry. Then we'll come back around.
The next question after that.
Hi, you guys. Hi. My name is Tiara, and I'm the founder of a nonprofit called From Broken to Purpose. And I'm 36 years old, and I can honestly say within the last 3.5 years, I have been living life. We have to understand there's a difference from existing and living. For years, and I say my nonprofit is called From Broken to Purpose because that's exactly what I was. I went through from the age of 14 until I was probably like 31 years old, just being broken, being sad, being depressed, not feeling worthy, not feeling good enough. You know, listen to people say you can't or you shouldn't or you couldn't. And I allowed all of that stuff to get me to a place where I was just existing. I got up because it was sunlight. I went to bed because it was nighttime. And what I had to do is, not too many people say that their gifts are birthed out of pain. God has always had a purpose in me, but I couldn't really go forward into my purpose until I dealt with you know how they say what the devil thought was good for bad, God made it, God turned it around. Basically, at the age of 14, up until I was 14, I lived a really good life. I would kind of say I lived like the Cosbys. My dad had money, my mom had money, they had matching BMWs. My dad was a minister at a church. My mom was a Sunday school teacher. When I turned 14 years old, my dad went from being a minister to being a crackhead. And when I say a minister for being a crackhead, that's exactly what it was. So you have to think of the mindset of a 14-year-old. I'm in my adolescence years. I'm growing up. I'm a daddy's girl. And, you know, I don't understand at this point what's going on. So I started looking for love in all the wrong places. And, you know, my dad was in and out of different places. I would go to morgues to kind of see if that was him because I hadn't talked to him in weeks. So I ended up getting pregnant at the age of 17. I had my first daughter. I got married when I was 21. I was pregnant with my second child. And at this time, you know how you live a life and people think your life is good, but you're really just existing. So I got married, and you know we played family for a very long time. I had my third child, and I was a leasing consultant at this time. So I was moving a young lady in, and she came in and she was pregnant, and this was the breaking point. She came in and she was pregnant. As a leasing consultant, we helped her move in. I helped her move in, but I did not know that I was moving in my husband's baby mother. Yeah, and you know, for a lot of us, for women, when we love with everything that we have. So it took me to kind of I went to a place of depression. depression. But I never dealt with the stuff that happened to me at 14. So everything that happened to me at 14, now I'm dealing with the fact of our youngest baby is not your youngest baby. How do you deal with that? So I decided that I was going to be quiet. I wouldn't tell anybody. My kids, when the baby was born, my kids thought that was their godbrother. And something had happened, and I had to talk about it and tell what happened. So I got to a breaking point where, you know how sometimes we feel like we don't want him to, well, I don't want him to leave because I don't want her to be with him. You know, but I had to realize that it was at that point that God was telling me that you are more than enough. You are better than that. So I went through a loss. When I say a loss, I lost everything. I got fired from my job. I lost my car. I lost my home. And I had 3 babies. And I was living on my sister's 3rd floor. And I remember saying, God, you didn't die on the cross for me to live like this. Like, you know, you say things, if you ask in my name, then you shall receive. So I started praying different, because, you know, sometimes we'll pray and we'll ask for material things. So I started praying. I said, God, if you just give me a peace of mind, if you can give me a peace of mind, I understand that I can change my situation. And as I started praying, and every night when I would go on that 3rd floor, and I would see my babies on that floor, I kept saying, Lord, this is not what you want for my life. So what I started doing, I went to the YMCA and I started talking to young girls, and that's where I started finding my purpose. And I started talking to young girls about insecurities and self-esteem and understanding your worth and understanding who you are and not allowing anybody to tell you different. So I started off and I did that, and I ended up getting another job. And I'm gonna go real fast so everybody can go. So what happened is, I started believing in who I was, and I took a self-discovery journey. And this is what I talk to my clients about. Who am I, and why am I here? We always got to figure out there is a purpose in every one of us. But what are we going to do? What do we need to do? And, you know, things change. And over years, little by little, I started gaining and started doing more things. But I wasn't able to move until I understood who Tierra was. I wasn't able to move until I understood the storm that God put me through. I had to learn from that storm. Sometimes we go through different storms and we keep going through the same storms because we're not learning the lesson that God is trying to teach us in these storms. So things happen, and about 3 years ago I started a nonprofit from Broken to Purpose, and I started dealing with teenagers. And I went from a one office, you guys, one room, not even this big, one room where I had my desk right here and I had like 5 chairs right there. And I would go to work and I would come on Tuesdays and Thursdays and I would pray every time. And I'd be like, God, you know I can't really keep doing this. I need you to figure out something. And I volunteered, and I was not in a position to volunteer. I volunteered at the Children and Family Services. And the lady came to me about a year later and she said, you know what, I'm going to give you a contract. And she gave me a contract. When I tell you the contract opened up so many doors. So what I say today is I just encourage anybody that's going through a storm, don't allow your situation to keep you in a place where you're not moving forward. You cannot. You have to continue to move forward. And one other thing is, when God closes those doors, we got to quit looking and peekabooing back in them doors. Them doors are closed for a reason. But when I tell you, sometimes our situation can cause us to just stay in a dry place. But allow your situation, allow your pain to birth you into your next. Because I sat here today, and I live in Cleveland, Ohio, but I went from a one office to I have a center for at-risk teens and for women. They come Monday through Friday. We have like 6 different rooms. We have a kickback room. We have a built-in kitchen. You know, I don't live on a 3rd floor. I live on a house that's built from the ground up. I didn't build the house. God saw fit for somebody else to build the house, to move into the house, and then I was able to move into the house. I drive what I want to drive, and I eat what I want to eat. But it's only because I allowed myself to never give up. And this is the last thing I'm going to close with. I was doing some research, and do you guys know the 409, the spray, the cleaner? Do you know why it's called 409? Yeah. Because he tried 409 times. He tried 409 times. And at that 409th time is when he did all those ingredients. But you know, a lot of times we'll stop at the 2nd time. We may stop at the 10th time. But he went to 409 times. So I just encourage anybody to just keep moving forward.
Before we move forward to our other speakers, I think that's actually a great segue into our next topic. We really want to tackle the topic of, you know, women and the challenges, the obstacles that seem like they're tailor-made just to oppress us, our specific demographic. You know, for example, I'm sure you guys all heard about Teacher Bay not too long ago. If you're not familiar with Teacher Bay, she posted a picture. She's a school teacher for young girls, and she had on a midi dress, but she was a curvy girl, and there was a lot of lashing back about her figure and whether it was appropriate for her to teach young children with that kind of clothing on, and so on and so forth. But you know, women and women of color are stigmatized every day. There are certain ideas that are floating around about what we should and shouldn't look like, and those ideas weren't really created with us in mind. Another example, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the situation with Beyonce that just transpired with the Country Music Awards. And, you know, she performed at the Country Music Awards, but soon after they received the awards, received some backlash about having had her on the show, with her being so vocal about, you know, Black Lives Matter, and, you know, her just being who she is and what she symbolizes, period. So sometimes it just seems like a lot of the obstacles that we face were tailor-made to stop us from reaching that next level. Call it the glass ceiling, call it what you will, but you know, there are some very real obstacles that are that we're facing on a day-to-day basis. So we want the panelists and our additional speakers to go ahead and chime in on how they have overcome some of those obstacles. I'll just really quickly, I'll share a story. I'm originally from New Jersey. 5 years ago, I moved to Atlanta and started my private practice. Well, later started my private practice, but when I moved to Atlanta, I was employed by a Black-owned company, and it was a child and family therapy center. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but hold on, wait, yeah, that's my point. But yeah, so that's me. So I went to work one day in a pencil skirt, knee length. I had on a camisole with a cardigan over it, buttoned all the way down. I thought I looked appropriate for work. Well, they sent me home that day. Wow. They told me that I looked inappropriate. And because we worked with young boys, I needed to go and change and put on something that was less revealing. Mind you, no boobs out, nothing short, only the bottom of my legs were out. But they sent me home, and these were by my sisters, essentially. This is what I was told by my sister. I was so hurt. I called my husband. I was like, I can't believe. I was so upset. So I want to just, before we have our speakers touch on this subject, I want us to also remember that sometimes we're doing it to ourselves. And I want us to have a real conversation about that. Because even when I talked about Teacher Bay, I'm sure some of you guys were like, yeah, well, she wouldn't have been teaching my child looking like that. So we have to really realize that while some of these stigmas were laid out for us, sometimes we are the ones driving them. We're perpetuating these stigmas, okay?
So you know what? Can I jump on that?
Sure.
So you make a good point, and I think as African American women and men, we like to be the only ones in the room, right? So we have to get that syndrome out. The only one in the room. I made it. I'm the one on TV. I'm the basketball player. I'm the football player. I'm the one. I'm the motivational speaker. Because let me tell you how you change that. You bring another person up. And so when we start getting more and more people in the boardrooms, in the C-suites, at the top, executives, That's how that changes. But you know what? I think I'm so tired of seeing people wanting to do it on ourselves. And you know, I tell this story because this story always sticks in my mind, but I love it. Let me tell you. So I had like some investment banker, right? So I'm growing my business. He introduced me to an investor. The investor was white, Jewish. I went to him in New York City. We were at Atlantic Grill. I had everything. Business plan, photo slides, PowerPoint. I was like rolling, right? I'm coming in with my suit. Thought I was doing everything right. And so I gave him the pitch, all of this stuff, and he looked at me. And so he was like, I like it, but I'm not going to invest. And so that really broke my heart. I'm like, oh God, I did everything right. I thought I had everything. And he said, but I'm not investing because of you. I just don't invest in anything other than Jewish. I invest all my money in Jewish institutions, in Jewish real estate, in Jewish. He said, I only invest in Jews. He was like, it has nothing to do with you. He was like, you're on point. Yes, you got a big mouth. You're warm. You're kind. All of this stuff. He was like, but I'll mentor you, but I won't invest in you. And so you know what I thought when I left that meeting? I said, wow, what if African Americans did that? Where would we be? Right? Y'all know, like, it was so funny. It was like, where would we be? And it was a white man who was 78 years old. This guy owns really New York, almost every building. And he said, the one thing I'm gonna tell you is that I came here in 1970 with my aunt and my cousin. I lost all of my family, my aunt and my cousin, because my family was destroyed. I came here with $5. He said, the only thing I did is when I went to Brooklyn is I found another Jewish family. And I said, can you help me? He said, that's all I did. And they helped me. They took me in, and he said, it took a year because I worked for somebody in real estate, because he's a real estate guru. He said this guy owned a building. He owned one building in like on Flatbush, and it was like 100,000. He said, if I work for you, I work my butt off every day and night. And he said, now me and the guy are worth the same amount, $725 million. Because that's what I'm talking about. Because we try to be the only ones in the room. And as sisters and gentlemen, right, in this room, you know what you do? So for people to stop telling us that we can't wear dreads, or I don't got weave, but I like dreads, or you know what I mean, natural hair, or curvy. It's because we need to help each other out. We need to get that person that job and not talk about it, really be about it. Put yourself to the test. You know what, this year, I'm putting myself to the test. I don't just talk about it. If you want help, support, then you really call me, and I'm doing the best that I can do. But stop talking about it, really be about it. And that's what we have to do as sisters and brothers, right?
I want to cue Shira, and then we're going to follow up with Courtney, and then we'll have our,
I didn't mean to go.
go ahead, and then we'll have our Q&A session.
Hi everyone, I'm Tashira Simmons, which you guys, who doesn't know me, I'm the ex-wife of DMX. I'm also an author and the founder of Freedom of Truth, which I just recently birthed. I don't really know what to talk about right now because every last one of you guys has touched on what I was going to say, but I'm just going to freestyle and go on about how I am. My purpose was birthed through pain. My foundation was totally broken as a child. I raised myself. Yes.
I can't hear you back there.
Okay. I've raised myself. And I don't know if a lot of you guys have ever been abandoned, but I was abandoned at 14. My father turned to drugs. I'm the oldest. And what that does to a child is unexplainable and unimaginable. I was totally lost as a child. I didn't think I had a purpose. I was spoken nothing but bad things in my life. When my father turned to drugs, you know, he was like, you're going to be on babies, you're going to be babies in welfare, you're never going to go anywhere in life. And that's what I was told. There was always this voice that was deep down inside that always told me, you're going to do more. So then, as you all know, I met with the love of my life when I was 18. He was great. He had a lot of things that he was dealing with. I had a lot of things that I was dealing with. We were two broken people. We got together. It was great. The rest is history. We went from poor, from nothing to millions, literally overnight. Still didn't know who I was because at that time, I didn't think I had a purpose. Even though deep down inside, I felt I had a purpose, but I didn't think I had a purpose, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Because right now, I thought my purpose was to be a wife. Because as women, we're nurturers. And here it is, my husband, he needed me. He required a lot of attention. So I said, oh God, wow, this is my purpose. We have millions of dollars. We have houses in different states. This is my purpose. I'm good. Then that foundation was broken to the core. And I was left, literally, single mom with 4 children, the youngest one, the oldest 13, cut off of money because I didn't want to bow down to what that person wanted me to do, basically sell my soul. And I started listening to that voice that was inside of me because I had nothing else but pain. That's all I had was pain. And out of nowhere, when I started digging deep inside of me, my purpose started coming out slowly. And then God started sending his angels to come up to me and tell me, you are somebody. What are you doing with your what are you doing with your
Gifts?
no, what do you know, not your gifts, what are you doing with your purpose, or what are you doing with your now I'm getting brain freeze right now. Not your passion, your
Talent.
I'm getting stuck, but not calling, but basically I'm my own product, right? What are you doing with your own what are you doing with your product? I'm like, what's that? You are your product. You're a walking product. I was like, but all I was a wife that was married to no, excuse me? No, you are a product. You made it through. Now, what are you going to tell people how you made it through? You're walking around here, you're humble, you're happy, you got this light that's shining, but what are you going to do with it? You are your own product. So, I still didn't get it at that moment. I'm still in pain, I'm still broken. Does anybody know how it feels to be broken to the core and not to know what you're supposed to do in life and you're just walking around and you're trying to figure out yourself? So what I did was I took time because I had no other choice. I had no other choice but to take time for me because my children needed me. So if I would have failed, which I wasn't trying to fail, I wasn't trying to give up, I wasn't trying to give up hope. But I thought then, again, because it's so easy to take care of somebody else, it was very easy for me to take care of other people. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I was used to doing. That's what I was comfortable with. But God was calling me to do something bigger. And that felt uncomfortable because you know what that bigger was? That bigger was to get to know who Tashira was. Who Tashira was supposed to be in life. So in that pain, in that brokenness, came my purpose. And once I found my purpose, which is like what I related to Yandy so much, was to speak to women, to speak to men, to speak to kids that's broken and that's in pain. I could feel people's pain when they walk past me if they're in my presence because this is what I was birthed through pain, constant pain, pain that's unimaginable, pain that you would never be able to understand and be able to get through. And I made it through that pain. And in that pain, I found purpose. And now I have passion. You know why? Because I'm passionate about what I got to do in life now. And ain't nobody could tell me that I can't do that now. Because I know now. You know how I know? Because you know where the profit was for me? Is now that I got a one time. I mean, when I tell you the closest relationship with God right now. He's my best friend. All I do is get on my knees and ask him, what you need me to do, Father? And the rest is history. Because I didn't even go into so many things, but I didn't lose my house. I lost my car, I lost everything. I thought I lost everything. I didn't lose anything because I didn't lose my mind. I didn't try to make it feel like I lost myself, but I did. So my profits that I've gained, and now that I'm moving on, and I started this foundation called Freedom of Truth, and it's because I'm real. And I'm not afraid to be honest, and I'm not afraid to just say, yo, I ain't got nothing right now, but can you help me? I'm not even feeling good right now. I don't even feel good about myself right now, but I'm still going to do this. I don't have a problem because it's freedom and truth. I don't care how people look at me, and I've never cared about how anybody looked at me, and that's why it was so easy when everything was going on with X and everything all around the world, because I don't know if you know how it feels to be married to a public figure that's all over the world, and here it is, they looking at you and they know you done gave your life to that person. And they're like, do you know what happened? You know what he did? And you still walking with a smile, because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Because I got freedom, because you know who I follow? I follow God. The name of my prophet that I get out of everything is that I know God for myself.
First of all, she doesn't even understand her power, but I think you're getting it. You're getting it because the first time I encountered you, she was just so doubtful. She was just like, I don't know, you guys are so accomplished, and I'm this, and I don't know if I sound right. And every time, you could just see how you're just building and building and building. And I think that's what we're talking about just taking that leap, just going out there. Because, you know, the only way you build confidence is by doing. You have to do it, you have to fail, and then you succeed. And then the more you succeed, the more you will yourself into understanding how much more you can do. And then that's when more success comes. And I just want to also say that where you always say, you know, and that's kind of been a repeating theme, you know, out of my pain, out of my brokenness. First of all, I'm sorry, I wouldn't be a therapist if I didn't say this. But be careful of the messages that you feed yourself. Because broken things oftentimes cannot be fixed. You are not broken. But even so, where you say there was pain and brokenness, it just sounds like wakefulness, like you were enlightened and you woke up and it, you know, clarity and space, and you know, that was not necessarily brokenness. That wasn't damage. That was openness. That's where you invited, you know, your strength, your greatness. That's when you embraced it. You know, that space was beautiful. That wasn't pain, that wasn't brokenness, that was beauty in that space. So we're gonna have Courtney come up. And then we're gonna, you know, take a couple of questions, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Come after behind all of that. Nothing to say. But my name is Courtney. I'm the founder and CEO of The Main Choice. We also are a hair care brand, and what I would like to talk about, you know, she mentioned about being a female in the industry, and I like to talk about why I am actually here. I am from Detroit, Michigan. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, so it's all about the hustle. So you have to eat, sleep, breathe, whatever that is. And the thing about when you talk about passion, what I've noticed is that people who drive off of like just the passion are like sometimes poor business owners. So it's not just the passion, but how can you take that passion and create it and create something? You know, and also what is the passion? Sometimes your passion may not be necessarily what you think it is. So for me, when I was young, it was all about, I just wanted to do things. I always wanted to help people. I'm the youngest out of my 4 sisters, so my life was just helping people. And I'm a registered nurse as well, so I'm like, well, maybe that's my passion, but I just didn't feel like that was it. I'm like, I just got so much to offer. You know, I want to fix something. So even with nursing, I went from the bedside to the problem fixing nurse. You know, I looked at physicians' documentation and told them what they did was wrong. I was just into fixing something. So with the hair, this is something I just experimented with myself. I'm like, can I grow my hair, you know, to lengths that basically we don't see in the African American community. So for me, it was just that experiment, like, can I do it? So I'm at home mixing up things, mixing up concoctions, you know, and I'm like, you know, I think I'm on to something, you know, this is pretty cool. And basically I shared that on social media. Long story short, I was contacted by Essence Magazine, Ebony Magazine. They wanted to know what was this formula, what was I, you know, mixing. And for me, I'm like, I'm fixing something. You know, when we first went live, there was no business plan. I probably started with like $400, you know, and to get that first order, that second order, that third order, and to hear people, their feedback, like, oh my God, like they really like this, you know, and it's about doing something that's helping someone. And to do something like this is definitely what it's all about. I mean, I can't express to you how we have to take care of one another. You know, my brand is one of the fastest growing brands in the ethnic community. So is Mayel. And we get it all the time. I'm sure she get it all the time. You know, they're comparing the brands all day long. But I'm like, we talk on the phone. We have each other. You know, there is no, this is what it's about. And like me and her, we're talking about, like, we can't sit on the shelves by ourselves. Like, you're not going to see the main choice in Mayel. Like, we have to have everyone, you know what I mean, to build our category. So it's like, what can I do? And my thing is, this is what I'm here for. I think my passion is much greater even outside of here. You know, I look for the opportunity to help, but we have to be open as well. Long story short, just did something like this in Dallas, and a girl came up to me. She wanted some advice, some business advice. And for some reason, I'm just like, she was just on my brain. So I inboxed the girl. I said, you know what? I got an idea for Christmas. You know, it's a campaign. You know, it's guaranteed. I'm going to give you $50,000. She was so overwhelmed by the thing that she couldn't handle it. But here is me, just strictly see the opportunity. Like, you know what? She could come up off of this. Her company can be launched and take it to the next level off of this. She was so overwhelmed. She was like, I talked to my mom, I talked to my husband. We just want to make sure everything is on the up and up. And I'm like, on the up and up? I just said I'm going to give you 50 grand. Like, you know, if anybody going to take the loss, it's me. You know, like, I can give you the money. You can say, I'm out to, you know. And basically, and I dropped down because I'm like, she wanted to send like a 10-page contract. I said, well, let me explain something to you. I don't sign anything over one page without going through my attorneys. I said, so whatever their feedback is, I'm going to have to take this into consideration. So, of course, the feedback was, Courtney, that's pretty risky, which I already knew, but it was just something that I wanted to do for her. I said, you know what, we're going to drop this down to $10,000. She gave me an invoice. She done bought all kind of fees on this $10,000 invoice. I'm like, what? I said, you know what? Never mind. I said, I'm out. I said, I'm out. But I'm like, you have to receive. You have to receive. We have to take care of one another. You know what I mean? But you have to be open to receive it. You know, when I had my first retail meeting, and that was with Sally Beauty. And I always tell people, you know, we came there, you know, with the same products, but we're looking for someone to give us a chance. She could have said yes, she could have said no. It was up to her. And like they said, you know, we are our worst enemies. I have the most problem with African American women in the industry. You know, and it's insane. It's insane. And I just, for me, it's like, I know I'm like, Courtney, everybody don't think like you do, you know, but we have to take care of one another because no one, just like you said, no one's going to look out for us. You know, this industry that we're in is saturated with men. You know, the ones who are on top, you can count them on your hand. Now add in African American. What type of man? Exactly. And they look nothing like us. I sit in meetings all the time and I'm the only one in there that look the way I do. You know, but again, we have to take care of one another. We have to have each other.